Hi everybody, and welcome to the 3D printing workshop. I'm your host Fergie. Today we're going to look at three things that you should take into consideration when you're printing the layers for any model that you do. So let's go ahead with number three. Now number three, you have to know your material. Now this is Stormbreaker, full size. I printed it on a combination of CR10 and Ender 3. The blades here were done on CR10 as well as the longer piece here. The others were on the Ender 3 just to make it quicker. And the handle is actually printed out of wood filament. Now, in order to make sure that it was nice and solid, I did print it with a 60% infill, which I thought would work great, but it didn't. So what do you have to know about this wood PLA? Well, this wood PLA is wood mixed with the PLA. So it's not 100% plastic. And because of that, the layers don't adhere the way that you're used to. It makes it more brittle than it should be. And my mistake was giving the 60% infill. It made the handle heavier than it should have been. So gluing the handle now became a problem. Now when you're using regular super glue, and even if you're using gloop, you've got to remember that only the top layers, maybe one or two layers, are going to be connected, and that's it. So when this connects to this, only the top two or three layers are going to be connected. And if it's not adhering the way it should, it's going to separate, which has happened with all the weight that's in this. So whenever you swing it around normally, it separates like this. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. As you can see, I even have the blanks in here to connect it from one to the other. But because they're all made out of wood, all the layer lines separated. So make sure you know the PLA that you're using, or any kind of plastic, and the way it's going to react. Now there is a way to compensate for this, but not much. I mean, this is useless as being able to like play with it and use it as cosplay, because it wouldn't last past 5 minutes, because this weighs about 3 times more than a normal PLA handle. So I had to go ahead and print them all again. So let's go ahead and take a look at the second tip and consideration that we're looking at here, and that's play the angles. All right? So this is a normally printed section of the handle. All right? As with any print, here we go. You could run your finger along this and feel every single layer. Now normally you want your layer lines to be the length of this and not going around the circumference. And the reason is because if it's layered like this, then it's super strong. If it's layered like this, you could still probably just snap it off. Now I only did this in 50% infill, so it's only 15% to make sure I don't have the same weight that I did with the other. But there's another way that you can make it stronger. A lot of times if you're printing and thinking of your layers, you would print at an angle to make sure you preserve the detail on, say, miniatures. But it can work for longer pieces too. So this piece was printed at a 25-degree angle. 25 to 45 is usually going to be your friend, because if you're printing at only 20 to 25, this did not require any additional supports besides the supports at the bottom. This did because there's detail, but this didn't at all. So you can print a normal handle. The lines are running this way instead of this way. Let's go ahead and take this off. If I can, there we go. So instead of the lines running around it, it's running at an angle like this, and that's going to make it much stronger to the torque and stresses we're looking at here. And it's the same thing with this. So play your angles. Now the third thing we want to look at is how to adhere. Now I did say that, as you can see with this one, here we go, it's separated below the top surface of the layers, all right? Because this all here is infill. You can see how solid it is. So I'll need something that's going to penetrate more than just one or two layers, like super glue or even goop. So the thing I use for that is Gorilla Glue. Now, Gorilla Glue is an expanding foam glue. So if I take the handle, here we go, and I add a little bit of water like this, and get this on here. All right, get it wet to activate the glue. It will expand. Now it will expand not only sideways, but it will expand directly into the infill here. So on this, if I only had a 15% infill like this, it would expand much deeper than it's going to be in the 60. So that's the other thing. One of the reasons you want to make sure your infill is low is if you use expanding glue, it'll expand much deeper than it would if there's a lot of infill. A good example of that is this. So if you do it, if you use this, which is the expanding glue, just flat surface to flat surface, there's no place for it to go, it will go out the sides. If you have infill available like this, as you can see, the glue, which started here, will go all the way down past here. So now I've gone in maybe an inch further than I would with any other glue. This was done with just hot glue. And as you can see, it left gaps. This is done with expanding glue and a clamp. There are no gaps at all because it expanded into it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Hold on here. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. So what I'm going to do is cut this open, and we'll see just how far it expanded. Yeah, didn't want to cut, does it? There it goes. Ah, right. Yeah, this wood is not good at all. So let me break this open. And as you can see, the glue, hot glue, only went about this far in. Not very far. The expanding glue, as we know, if I can get it open, there we go. So you can see that this expanded all the way up this way, all the way that way. And I got 1.5 inches of coverage that I wouldn't get with the other. So when I glue this piece to that piece, it's going to give me a good solid connection, but still it's way too heavy to play with. So another way that we can make sure this works well is to go ahead and put our own holes for expansion. Hold on here. There we go. So I've got this piece and I've got this piece. This is the top of Stormbreaker, right? Now I went ahead and printed 2 pieces because this has a lot of detail on it, as you can see, and I didn't want to have a lot of support here, so I printed one like this and one like that, and then I'm just going to put them together like this. Well, to do that, I'm going to go ahead and have to give the glue someplace to go. So I'm just going to take a drill in the flat part, which you'll never see, and I'm just going to drill holes, and this will give the glue someplace to expand, because you have all this info on the bottom that it can expand to. In fact, this piece, you can see where the glue is going to fill in all the pieces of the rectangle as much as it can to give it that grip. So that's 3 things we're considering when we're 3D printing: is how much infill am I using, and what kind of plastic I'm using, filament. Make sure it's not too heavy and they can withstand the strain. If it's going to be a high use piece, consider printing on an angle. Your printer can handle from 0 to about 40 degrees without any kind of support. So use that, take that advantage. And 3, sometimes we want to use expanding foam in order to make sure the piece is a little bit more secure than it would be otherwise. If you guys have any suggestions about how to make the layers a lot stronger, just let me know in the comment section below. As always, please subscribe, and you guys have a great day.